And welcome back to America Talks Live. I am Bill Tucker. It is election day. We encourage you to get out and vote. This is a republic that relies on your votes. We want you out there. We want you at the polls today and casting your ballot. We also encourage you to call in and voice your opinions. 1-877-NEWSMAX. That is 1-877-639-7629. Okay, rejoining us now, Ellis Henican. He is a columnist for Newsday, radio and TV commentator. Jack Berkman, radio show host of Behind the Curtain with Jack Berkman and president of Berkman Associates. And we're pleased to welcome the syndicated columnist and professor of economics from the business school down at the University of Maryland, Peter Morici. Peter, welcome. Glad you could join us.
Nice to be with you.
I want to start with the economy, so we're going to start with you. We've had anemic growth. It's been about let's call it 2%, because it's probably about what it's going to be each year since Barack Obama took office. Yes, he's created 15.5 million jobs, but Peter, that's not nearly enough jobs to dig us out of that hole that was cratered at the end of the Bush administration, and it's certainly not been the kind of growth that gets anybody excited. Either one of these people, pick one of your people. Is someone going to be able to give us some economic growth that's going to drive this economy?
Well, certainly a lot more growth is possible. Reagan accomplished twice the number of jobs and even more growth than we've seen. My feeling is that Trump could generate that. Hillary's going to give us more of the same. She's basically talking about building out Obama's welfare state even further. You know, the more you pay people not to work, the fewer people you have that are actually working.
Well, what's interesting here, and Ellis, I'm going to bring you in so you can sort of counter Peter's argument and mine as well, perhaps, is that what Hillary wants to do is, quote unquote, invest in America. And by investing in America, she means she wants to create an economy that is driven by government employment. And it seems to me that that's one of the two biggest differences here between Trump and Hillary when we get down into the economic issues. Do you agree with Peter's characterization that Hillary is more of the same? It certainly, to me at least, appears that it would be.
No, and I hate to mention this, Bill, but I'm not sure I agree with yours either. I don't think Hillary's talking about an economy driven by government growth. I think it's got to be a piece of it. I mean, listen, we've had huge changes in our economy, and Peter understands this. I mean, there's been a technological revolution that is almost like the Industrial Revolution in an earlier century, and it's causing upheaval. I mean, the good news is that the past 8 years have been a whole lot better than the previous 8. And in recent times, we've had growth, we've had deficit reduction under Democrats.
Oh,
so
Ellis,
we didn't
Ellis,
get
listen,
that. No, listen, those are just the facts.
The game that Obama's playing.
If I could
show
just
you the
quickly,
game.
Let him finish, Jack, and then we'll get to you. Let him finish, so we get to you.
I'm not filibustering. I'm making a short point here. I just think that if you compare the results of those, not as great as we would love, sure would be better if we had a lot more of it, but we've certainly done better under the previous two Democratic administrations economically than under the previous two Republican. I don't think anybody can deny that fact.
Go ahead, Jack.
Actually, I can deny that, but let Jack have his turn.
Almost all of the stats that Obama and Hillary present about the last 8 years center about the rise out of the '08 collapse. Sure, jobs were added there. We were at the bottom, but the rest of it's been a complete disaster. So they camouflage all of their statistics by focusing on that period. It's the only thing he can tout as being even the tiniest of economic achievements, and it's not much of an achievement. Let me throw out a question for Ellis. Ellis, can I throw this out?
Yeah.
You know, if you look at where Obama has taken the country in terms of welfare, and then you look at where Hillary wants to go, it almost raises the question, what is left for the average person to do? I mean, when you get free college, and you get free health care, and you got Social Security, and you got welfare, and you got unemployment, what does the man do for 50 years of his lifetime in terms of supporting the family? The answer is not much. The Democrats almost see people like animals that just eat, sleep, and exist.
Before we get back to Peter, Ellis, he threw that question to you.
Yeah, sure. Well, I have a far less bleak view of the American public, I guess, than you do. I mean, I think most people want to work. Most people, if they have an opportunity to have a decent job and provide for their families, all evidence shows that the vast majority of people will rise to that. Now, you know, government can't control it, but it can throw some hands out. It can help people get with an education, with some job training. I mean, those are really good investments in the most precious resource we have, which is each other. I'm sorry, I'm just not as negative and bleak as you are about it.
Peter, let me get you back.
Think about this, Ellis. We're saying, go ahead.
Peter, I want to get Peter back in this conversation. Peter, I got to pick up the thing that Ellis just said. Job training has never really worked very well, at least not in my experience as a reporter, still going back to Bush. But you were going to deny Ellis's predications in his earlier statement. Go ahead. I'll give you the floor now.
Well, we have had about 1.5% growth since the turn of the century. We've had 2 recessions, one of them very deep. The recovery in both the Bush and the Obama recessions has been about 2.1%. The recovery in the Reagan recession, he began his administration with a recession as well, and the unemployment rate peaked at 10.8%, and he had, to this point, about 4.5% growth. What we've seen is each successive president has had less growth than the previous one. As we have built out the welfare state and repealed the Reagan tax cuts, growth has slowed down. Those are the numbers, Ellis. If you want to come down to the University of Maryland, I'll lay them out in front of you, or I can show you where to find them on the government. Hold on, Ellis, be quiet now. I'll show you where to find them on the BEA website, published by Mr. Obama's government.
Let me answer you quickly like this. If I'm given a choice between a recovery that isn't as robust as we would like and a deep recession that we can only compare to the Great Depression, you know what? I'll take the anemic recovery over the one who brought a wrecking ball to the economy. If those are my 2 choices.
Yeah, but I don't think they're your 2 choices.
I can make the same argument about Jimmy Carter. He left Ronald Reagan with double-digit unemployment, with double-digit inflation, and Reagan had to dig out of that. You know, it is absolutely silly to keep pursuing this argument according to who was the worst president, because external conditions influence things a great deal.
But
you know, there is
no
point to
comparison is the same. I mean, listen, we're facing different economic issues today than we did in the 70s and the 80s.
That's
clearly.
nonsense. We've had technological
No, of course it's not nonsense.
Are you? Let me ask you this, Ellis. Let me throw this out. Are you
these guys are
aware
Steve,
that
I'm telling you what. Go, Jack, go.
debt to GDP? Are you aware, Ellis, debt to GDP for the United States right now is worse than France or Italy? Do you know that?
So go talk to President Bush and ask how that war in Iraq worked out for the debt. Why don't you see how that worked out, huh?
Hey, it was nothing compared to Obama's stimulus program, fella.
Actually, we've brought the deficit down pretty dramatically in the Obama years. Maybe
Ellis, I like you a lot, okay? But that's not true.
We need some balance here,
We
don't
had
we?
$9 trillion in deficit. We have 2020 in that.
They just make them up.
No, it's like, let's just for a little economic clarity, okay?
Okay.
We have not reduced the deficit.
Stock market's done pretty well too lately.
Well, the stock market's done really well. And guess who owns the stock market? The top 1.1% of the country owns the stock market. It's done really well. The rich have done extraordinarily well under Obama.
So let's talk about income redistribution.
But no, let's just go back for a little economic, just for a little economic truth.
With Mr. Obama, it sure has. In fact, you know who's done the worst in all this? Are blacks.
Why
blacks
are you
have done terribly.
Why are you all yelling at me?
Because this is news for those people who can't hear.
Crazy over there, so I got to help out.
What else? Come on. Give me yell some more. Let me hear.
Spikes and heavy pounding is what works, because reason doesn't.
Well, no, it's true, and I just want to say this one thing before I give it back to Jack. Jack, 1 second, just so that people are clear here. We had a $9 trillion deficit, $9 trillion debt when Bush left the office. When Obama is going to leave the White House, we're going to have a debt of about 20 trillion, like a T. That's not moving forward in the right direction. And Jack, back to your point, we do have a horrible GD to debt ratio. So what's the fix on that? So we got like a minute and a half left to answer the big questions of the day.
Well, the fix basically is, if you look at the European countries, we are becoming exactly what Italy, France, and Germany are. If you want to see the United States in 10 or 12 years, all you have to do is look at France right now. In a decade, that's exactly where we'll be if you do another 2 terms like this. It's really as simple as that. We are following that trajectory almost to a T, but nobody wants to admit it or focus on it.
Peter?
Oh, I think that it's worse than that, because the world relies on us for technological change and growth and so forth. And if we start to become like Italy, then where will the progress come from? Don't look to the Chinese. The Chinese are good at stealing other people's stuff. They're not very good at doing it themselves. We look at the Japanese. It's the same thing. They make great cars, but that's about it.
Well, none of this is like very uplifting and very positive.
Well, no, it's not. But when Hillary Clinton is running for office against Donald Trump, it's hard to get enthusiastic about, the future and great, bold leadership.
Well, I will, Peter, on that, you and I will absolutely, totally agree. But it seems to me, it seems to me,
two weasels are running for president today.
well, unfortunately, that's the truth, but that's our reality, and that's what people have had to pick from. And none of us can change that, although all three of us might agree that we'd want to. Guys, thank you very much. Peter, thank you for being here. Ellis, great to see you.
Always a
Jack,
pleasure.
good to have you joining us as well. Get out there. We'll talk to you more today. Will the polls hold true, or is there a surprise coming before the end of the day? We're going to talk to some of the people who think they know, but they're pollsters, and I'm not so sure the pollsters really know in this case. Not this time around. Let's find out. You keep it right here.